am finally here. I want to bun my hair, but I feel like just because I need to get ready to go outside in a bit. But I also wanted to jump on here because I'm just like, whoo, I feel like people. It's been an overwhelming time, especially with the current transition politically, naturally. And it's been one that has showcased the true face of many Americans. Let's keep it real. Um, and it's unfortunate, and it's uh, see how hypocritical America, or much of America, is, um, and how much entitlement exists within this country, and privilege. Let's keep it real. Privilege exists amongst many. Um, whew, yeah, it's, I mean, where do I start? I have a lot to say. It's insane. I guess let's start with it's insane how certain individuals have been labeled illegal immigrants when those that are saying a specific group that have we forgotten they're native to the Americas. Many are indigenous. Many are born, not many, most are born within these lands. They're from the Americas. Doesn't matter if they're from South America, Central America, which I know is part of North America. Nonetheless, they're from the Americas. It's crazy to me to see individuals of European ancestry, descent. They can claim and, shout at the top of their lungs that they came here legally. There weren't the rules and laws that are in place nowadays never existed before. Have we also forgotten about the enslavement of Black communities, of natives, of, or more so the killing, the election of these groups, right? And also encampments that were created for East Asians. Have we forgotten that? It's insane that one group likes to claim, oh, but we did things legally. Not true. If we're looking at history, things that were done in the past were done illegally. Those are immoral acts. They're unethical. And you cannot claim or be the one that claims righteousness when you or your ancestors, yes, you are a descendant of them, you are a representation of them, did evil acts. It's insane to me to see that. And it's crazy when, communities of color go ahead and say, we've experienced X, Y, and Z. And then, those of European ancestry, those that are privileged, those that are white, have, are saying, well, don't play victim mentality. Nonetheless, here you are trying to use a way to kind of work around the system. Some that you guys have always said, well, communities of color, they're always trying to do things incorrectly. When you, of your own community, your own group, has showcased that very thing. It's interesting. It's an interesting observation if you look closely at what has been happening. And it's, to me, a lot of projection, to be honest. I mean, I can go on and also speak on all the atrocities that are happening, currently, right, around the world. Not necessarily only, within the U.S., because injustice has existed since the beginning of time. And, it would be a lot better, or, have a lot more respect for individuals if they actually just called it for what it was. For all their rules, all their trying to make themselves look good, look better, look like the ones that are trying to, are doing what's right, but have truly never done what's right. If we look at history and all we know, it's insane. that people actually fall for that. And it's really saddening when I see a lot of communities of color actually fall victim of that and actually pander to these ideas, because these ideas are not beneficial to us. And most importantly, as Black and brown communities and individuals, we should unite, and we should not agree with rhetoric that is not conducive, not only for our own communities, but for also our brothers and sisters. Um, but then that's the reality of life. And once you come into an understanding of like, okay, let me observe this, let me look at it for what it truly is. And once you let common sense sit, and marinate, that ain't right. This ain't right. And it's never been right. It's always been to elevate only one community, one group. And we see now more than ever that very community, that very group doesn't want to let go of power. They, throughout all this time, all about progress and whatnot, and we are such a progressive nation. Untrue. The things that we've done in other countries is horrific. How can you say that is just? How can you say that is ethical? How can you say that is for the betterment of all of the world? And it's interesting that a lot of people also hide behind Christianity, a faith that is not even about politics, is not even, leveraging politics. Jesus himself said, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and give to God what belongs to God, essentially saying, that this is not my kingdom. This is not where I will reside. Like, we have to stay focused on Christ. And although I am not necessarily one to speak like in terms of practicing Christianity, but I know that much. I know that Jesus also looked for more the Sadducees and Pharisees, because he knew that they thought they were right. They thought they were righteous. They thought they were the elected ones, the ones that, were doing everything right. But yeah, he didn't even hang out with them. Why is that? Because he knew their own hypocrisy. He knew that they were liars. He knew that they wanted to hide behind this idea of perfection, but they weren't. They were far from that. And it's insane that, white America, all in all, thinks that they're in alignment with Christ, with Christianity. Jesus himself was a Middle Eastern man. He probably wouldn't be accepted to. He's part of the GI community. It's insane that we we just create things that benefit, like certain ideas that align with us. So this is going to continue to propel. And I feel like much of what and why the church is so prominent is because the church allows for an individual kind of instill ideas and beliefs and have a leader. And it works similarly to politics, to be honest. And it works perfectly, aligns almost perfectly with politics if you really look at it. Impose, power and tell people what to do. And, therefore these people will follow you. But then they don't think for themselves. They don't really stop to question what really is right and what really is wrong, because they're just agreeing to whatever belief and idea they've been told. And then you create an atmosphere and a community and people that are just willing to follow whatever is said. All this, I feel like especially with our current president, Trump says something and all of a sudden everyone agrees with him. That's so similar to Christianity in many ways, to many religions, all in all, where they tell people what to do and how to think and what to go, instead of people actually taking time to read the word themselves, taking time to understand their own faith, the history behind it. It's sad, but I feel like America really doesn't promote individual thinking. It doesn't promote people to think. It doesn't, foster an environment for people to think. It's really sad that, when I think about America and its history, It's it's one that I sometimes I even tell, my partner, I'm like, I wish I lived in a country or moved to another country. And to be honest, even nowadays, I'm just like, I really wish I could just leave this country because I feel like I've ever been part of this country. I've never felt like I've been or I've been made to feel like I'm an American. To be honest, it's insane being born and raised here to feel that and to know that, to know almost like you don't belong. But, it gives me hope in a way that, and naturally, many of you might have your own beliefs and ideas and whatnot, but it gives me some hope and some desire to keep pushing, to keep moving forward, knowing that Jesus walked a similar path. Jesus wasn't accepted. Jesus was not part of the in-group. Jesus was, here doing mission, doing what he needed to do, and not being, welcomed by individuals. And I guess this is what I would like to share with individuals that might feel the same in terms of not feeling like they belong to America or to wherever you're at, right? You might be a foreigner in your place. And if you are a believer in this case, take that moment to, wow, Jesus walked a similar path as I did. He was not welcomed. He was not liked. He was not wanted, but he maintained steadfast to his mission. And all that might not apply. There are many individuals that don't believe in Christ and have different beliefs. And that's another thing that we have to be respectful of. It's frustrating to see that the world is so focused on the lives of others, what others believe. And, and naturally I myself been sharing this and can say to some level that contradicts itself, but it's also an important thing to bring understanding and knowledge and realize what the reality of it is historically, like what is happening. I think facts are important to also allow in, and to be willing to be teachable is important in this life. So I can only say that, I feel like so many countries, I'm sure, so many people around the world can also share or feel a similar way about their nation, their country. Maybe they've seen injustice. Maybe they know about the injustice that exists. But one thing I can say is that we have to be vocal about the issues that exist. We must not shy down. We must encourage our Black and brown brothers and sisters to continue to speak out. I'm really I always sit in so much admire, I don't know, sometimes like when I get nervous, and I feel like a lot of times I'm just like, I have so much to say, but it's really difficult to out to the world, right? When individuals are hearing from all parts of the world. It's so admirable to see individuals like Kendrick Lamar, for example, speak on issues, or individuals from just around about anyone and anywhere around the world that have experienced a lot of the injustices that exist. And I just ask that all of you feel empowered to share your story, feel empowered to not silence yourself, because I feel like a lot of individuals, a lot of individuals with privilege going around the web trying to silence individuals, and that in itself already says enough. You have a lot of privilege, and you benefit from that privilege, and that's why you want to silence individuals. And I think a lot of what exists nowadays, especially with the political climate and the president that we have, is just a response to that, knowing that Black and brown communities have found their voice, are not willing to shy and sit down and silence themselves any longer. And that scares certain people. But we must prevail. We must continue to move forward. We must not let um, people that are hateful, angry, damaged, and need healing. And I think also that leads me to say that I feel like America and a lot of countries in general, that when they don't tackle, because this is not only an American issue, I'm sure this exists globally, but a lot of countries and governments want to band-aid issues. They don't want you to see and learn about what really happened historically, and they want to keep people at bay, complacent, because that benefits them. That benefits the government. But we shouldn't. That doesn't bring healing. There's a reason why band-aiding an issue doesn't bring. You must tackle the issue. You must speak on it. You must not be silent. That brings true healing. Well, I'm sure that, there are many individuals that can understand and come in agreement with this message. And I just want to say to you to keep your head up high. Don't let individuals that don't know about your experience, that have no understanding or no willingness to really understand when all is said and done, don't expect them to understand, right? But keep doing what you're doing and keep, speaking on it if you are, or if you aren't, talk about these issues. We have to normalize talking about issues that relate to us. And we have to come together too. I would like to see more unity within the Black and Brown communities. I would like to see us come together as people, because we understand. We understand each other. We understand what it has been like to be the other in America. And this can be the case anywhere in the world. This could be in other countries that you may be residing in temporarily or long-term. Which are, for example, in Europe, there is a lot of issues that also exist, based off my understanding, that a lot of marginalized or communities of color have to undergo. And I just want to, encourage you guys. And I feel like another thing I really want to see us do more is invest in our communities and people. I find that a lot of times we get so wrapped up in what colonized world, right, encourages or perceives as ideal, and we should travel to these places, or we should live a certain life, but I dare you to step outside the box, instead of visiting places that where you might not feel comfortable. And not saying that that applies to everyone, but I know for a fact that I want to support, communities of color a lot more. I know I want to leverage their economy a lot more. And how can we do that? By visiting, countries that are often not perceived well by the US or the world. We have to also understand that a lot of these perspectives and ideas that exist about the world are also based off colonization itself, and just there to continue to marginalize communities and groups. And I've always observed this, like with this constant talk of countries around the world, like villainizing certain countries. And it's interesting that these countries are primarily, or if not, Black and brown countries. And we need to dismantle these ideas and beliefs, villainizing countries. That why are we talking about other countries as Americans when we should be focused on even establishing equality, establishing just rights for everyone, and working on unity, because this most certainly is not a united country despite its name. I feel like the name itself is it's a reflection of the American contradictions, that I feel like America is in itself a contradiction. Um, like, what? We should be focused on improving. And naturally, that doesn't mean excluding others. That doesn't mean villainizing other countries and communities, and um, leaving them in a state where you know, they're scrambling to figure out what they need to do next. Like, why are we going to foreign countries, for example, the Middle East being, or naturally that's a region in itself, but it's like, why are we going there? Why are we meddling in foreign affairs? Why are we causing more instability in other countries? How is that even morally right? America likes to sit on this throne of, oh, we're so morally right, we're doing everything that is right, but all of America's actions have not pointed at that. You cannot tell me that enslaving the Black community, or placing Native Americans in reservation camps, or in excluding them, and trying to make the community palatable to Europe, the I guess, like, colonized America, or putting East Asian encampments is right. You can't tell me that going to the Middle East and causing instability and leaving countries in terrible states is morally right. You cannot tell me that. You cannot tell me that America is a just country when naturally everything has proven to not be, just that. So, yeah. So with that being said, it's something to be from here, and I apologize to all of all other countries that unfortunately have experienced a lot of injustice at the hands of America, that hopefully will enlighten you, and to move away from colonization, move away from Eurocentrism. I really hope that really wakes up individuals to the reality of the Western world, that it's not all it's made up to be, and that I find that the right path to a better tomorrow is improving the country that you're in, and making change within your country, and investing. A lot. I feel a lot, and I find that this has dwindled a lot, where individuals no longer want to migrate to the West because they are well aware of the racism that exists. And I'm so happy to see that. I feel like communities of color, like communities or countries that have been villainized, stand up, like, and I really want to, it's interesting that much of what exists, and I feel like a lot of the ideas and beliefs are just for the betterment of a certain group, a certain individual, certain people to benefit from. And that already tells me enough about the selfishness, about the heart of those very individuals. But that's not the right way to proceed with the world and how we should go about it. I feel like if you are human, if you do have humanity in you, you want to see other countries prosper. You want to see other people groups prosper. And I hope that individuals that are on here and listening really, really align with the heart of humanity and really align with compassion. And yeah, that to me is important. But I also find that, yeah, I also find that, we have work to do here in America. Naturally, I'm getting on here because I've noticed so much hypocrisy, so much contradiction, but then again, once again, going back to Christianity and how I do believe a lot of what is said in the Word is has a lot of meaning, and that's like money is the root of all evil. And I find that the Western world or colonization is just a small portion of like individuals trying to maintain power and instill power, and therefore power leads to money, and at the heart of it all is greed, at the heart of it all is selfishness, at the heart of it all is evil. So yeah, it is what it is, but we must as individuals and communities of color, we must make a difference. We can make a difference. So I love you guys. I hope that really this is enlightening to you, and that, and I know a lot of people that exist online are actually hiding behind, very few end up showing their faces, naturally. But I find that, these conversations have to be made, and people do have to talk about it a lot more. And, and, I empower individuals that are of these or share similarities in terms of, being from communities of color, being marginalized, being of immigrant backgrounds. We have to, or even being from other countries, right? Because I know for a fact that many countries are impacted by, the greed that exists in today's day, and what the powers, right? That, but I feel like naturally, maybe I need to go back to reading the Bible, because I feel like Christ in itself, and not to make this about religion, naturally we all have our own journey and path in the faith, and that's important to respect. We should not meddle into one another's or dictate. And I feel like that's, America, it's all about, well, all these rights, all these you should have the freedom of speech, but it's only like but you must silence yourself once you speak something that is against, what? That don't make sense. But that again shows you, tells you enough. They only want certain individuals. They only want to hear a certain story line, but they don't want to hear the reality of it all. Whatever makes them feel good, right? But yeah, I find that part of life is respecting one another, and it brings it back to, for those that claim Christianity but at the same time are trying to do so much evil, or trying to, for example, in this case, deport others, or trying to remove certain things that have been put in place to improve the situation, because naturally throughout history there hasn't been room, or Black and brown communities were not allowed to participate or excluded. A lot of the things that exist nowadays, programs, for example, DEI, which I know it's a huge argument and whatnot, like these are because back in the past, does anyone remember, it was only whites. They only had the rights. They only had the privileges, the opportunities. It's interesting that individuals that claim Christianity and say they believe in Jesus don't practice love thy neighbor. It's as if greatest commandments of them all was love thy God with all your heart, mind, and soul. And then he said, love thy neighbor. Have we forgotten that? And it seems like, yeah, people, once again, you know, I'm not someone that is Christian to the core. I come from a Christian background, but I myself know that very fact. And Jesus welcomed all people to his table. He wasn't selective of individuals. It's interesting how Jesus even exemplified what a lot of Christians don't exemplify within the world. Jesus wanted to hang out with those that were outcast, marginalized, the tax collect prostitutes. Have we forgotten? Those are the people he hung out with because he knew the true heart of those that were outside of that. He knew that they were hypocrites. He knew that they didn't really care about anyone but themselves. That says it all. But with that being said, yeah. All right, guys. Take care. I hope everyone's having a good day. I said what I said. I said my piece. I hope that, I can come on here again and share once again. I feel like sometimes I sit, or just like not even sit, I'm just like walking around having so many thoughts. I'm like, this very argument contradicts its very self. And I'm just like, whew. It's interesting when you listen to something, let it marinate, and you're just like, that don't make sense. And I feel like that's been this current political party and of what I've seen. That just goes back to, what is it really all about? It's really about hate. It's really it's masking themselves faith and righteousness and this, but it's sheep clothes with like a wool, disguise, right? It's really that. It's putting up a front in order to gain audience, to gain action, to gain to followers. And what better way to gain followers and individuals through, faith or religion? That is, because once again, going back to what I mentioned before, I find that a lot of religions, or organized religions, foster that kind of sheep mentality, or foster that, just follow the leader, but don't think for yourself. Don't question anything. And that is detrimental to society, detrimental to the world. We must think and we must analyze things deeply. And yeah, I just want to say that much. I hope everyone's doing well and take care.